Good afternoon everyone and welcome to the Prime Vanguard channel. Today I'll be featuring to you my Sweet Sister Meer deck profile. Now this is a deck that I've been working really hard on as its unique playstyle and introduction of a new mechanic for Bermuda Triangle has made it one that I found very interesting and I wanted to test. Thanks to this new mechanic, I can truthfully say that this is a rogue deck that works really well against the current meta. It has a unique playstyle for Bermuda Triangle specifically, and I think that with the right number of cards, the right ratio of cards, this deck can perform really well against all the other decks, and a lot of decks will not see it coming. Without further ado, I'm gonna hop right into this deck profile. To start off with, we play 4 copies of Sweet Sister Meer, the star of the deck and everything that the deck is based around. She has 3 Vanguard abilities, and the first read as follows. The first one is that at the beginning of your main phase, put a Meer present marker into your hand, which leads into her second ability. At the beginning of your battle phase, reveal any number of Meer presents from your hand, and all of your rear guards get plus 5,000 power until the end of the turn for each card revealed. If you reveal 2 or more Meer presents, you may counterblast 1 and heal 1 card from your damage zone. Then finally, her third ability is to counterblast 1, soul blast 1, look at 2 cards from the top of your deck, superior call 1, and place the top card back on top of the deck. Now with Sweet Sister Meer, she has 3 effects, and the third one we don't care about as we just read, but the first and second one is what makes this card so interesting. She's the only card in the deck that allows us to add Meer presents, so she will be the only card that allows us to generate those Meer presents. But her second ability to add power with the number of ones that you get to all of your rear guards until the end of the turn makes her very good, as adding 5,000 power to your entire board obviously helps strengthen the columns, and her other ability to heal the damage is how it can do that long play continuously. Based off the way that Meer is written and the way that she wants to be played out, you do want to go into the long game so that you may acquire those 2 Meer presents so that you can heal that point of damage and then just keep slowing the game. The way that I play this deck and the way that I've gotten to building this deck after changes is that I want to play the long game with my opponent to build up as many Meer presents as I can, as being able to at least have 2 in your hand means that you're adding 10,000 power to your entire board. And then if you get 3, it's 15, and so forth. Overall, when you reach the grade 3, that's when you kind of want to start slowing the game down, which makes it very, very interesting to play against because now this deck has versatility depending on if you want to play more aggressively or more defensively, even though the way this deck is built is to play defensively. Meer, interesting card. I hope she gets more support in the future, but with V standard ending soon and interested in D format, I doubt it'll be that. But if she does get it, I'll be very happy to bring this deck back. Moving on to our grade 2s, we play 4 copies of Choco, Love Heart, Liselotte. Liselotte, the best grade 2 that Bermuda Triangle has, a free superior call or a free soul charge. The amount of advantage she gives you is just amazing. We play 4 copies of Top Idol Aqua, one of the newest cards introduced in Bermuda Triangle. It's a promo and also a rare in the Twinkle Melody set as well. Another amazing card. If you don't know what her ability states, she has 2. The first one allows you to get 5,000 power if you're using in the same column, and then the second one is when placed you may return a normal unit to your hand, draw and drop. This card again works really well with Liselotte as this is what allows you to have the early game rush with her, as if you have 2 you can call this one from grade 1, use Aqua, bounce it back and then reuse it, which therefore just allows so much card advantage in the early game that allows you to go into your Meer turns and play slower as you've already built a lot of card advantage on grade 2. Honestly, this is another amazing Bermuda Triangle staple that I feel like you need to be playing every other Bermuda deck unless your deck doesn't call for it, like my Lyricore deck or one of my other Bermuda decks, and so on. But 4 copies of Aqua is a must in this deck for me. For my next grade 2, I play 4 copies of Filling Reviere Petra. Petra is the newest Meer support for the deck. She's the only one that actually works very well with Meer, and she has 2 of the following effects. Her first one is on the Vanguard circle. When she's placed, you may Soul Blast 2 and search your deck up for 1 copy of Sweet Sister Meer, reveal it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. Then her second ability states, when it attacks, if your card was put from your damage zone into your drop zone this turn, your opponent cannot call Sentinels from hand to the Guardian circle until the end of that battle. So again, this is another unit that we have in the deck that enforces that long-term playstyle, as when it's that second ability states that you either pull a heal trigger or you heal a card from your damage zone, but as we know that Meer can heal a card from the damage zone if you have 2 Meer presents in your hand. So thanks to that and its guard restrict ability, this deck now has more offensive pressure, as we have a card that I guess we can call our pseudo finisher of the deck. This deck really just wants to play the long game style, so a lot of your cards are about drawing and getting resources or slowing down the game against your opponent. and having this card that can essentially throw a crit onto with the additional power from the Meer presence is really what we're going for that win con. Now, once we get to the point in the game where we know where our opponent's hand is, or we've just slowed our opponent down enough, we can go ahead and drop this on the board and just go for game. For my last grade 2, I play 2 copies of Electric Essence Systico. Now, if you don't know what this card is and you haven't seen it, I'll go over the breakdown of her ability. She has 2, and her first one is on the rear guard circle. During your turn, if any player's rear guard was returned to the hand, this unit gets plus 10,000 power. She then has the second ability where it states, when placed, you may put a normal unit from your drop zone to the bottom of your deck. If you put a grade 3 or greater unit, choose one of your opponent's rear guards that you cannot stand during your opponent's next stand phase. So essentially, this card is the, I guess, Mega Colony tech of Bermuda Triangle, as Bermuda Triangle is also one of those clans that gets miscellaneous effects here and there. But I play this card to reinforce the idea of, again, we're trying to play a slow down game so that Meer can build up those Meer presence. And having Systico, who paralyzes one of your opponent's units, is very helpful. Whether you choose a back row unit or a key unit that needs to be rested to activate an effect later on in the game, such as Nemain for Luard, or I don't know, any other unit that requires to be rested, essentially helps us with our defensive playstyle. So being able to recycle Meer is important as well, as you guys have seen, she's the only grade 3 that we play in the deck, and if we do want to re-ride into our Meers and search them out, we need to be able to have Meers in our deck to actually do that. So having Systico to recycle our grade 3s is important to me as well, so that we can re-ride later in the game too. Moving on to my grade 1s, I played 3 copies of Distinguished Wink Radka. Radka, second best ride that we have in the deck if you're going turn 2. Her ability to allow you to filter out your deck more for key pieces is helpful as well, and it does work with the other cards that we have later on in the deck, as being able to utilize your drop zone is something that this deck does well, as you can see with Systico and another unit that we play in the deck, but I mainly just use her for the second ride option and the filtering that she offers us. My next grade 1 is 4 copies of Mermaid idol Elly. Having Elly in the deck to provide us extra shield and defensive power is something that we need, as once we get into our grade 3s, we want to be able to play the more defensive game when we go back to our opponent's turn, and having Elly, who can not only search herself out but recycle herself as well, is very important. And then remember, because we play Radka in the deck, if you ever were to drop Elly and then fetch another Elly, that means that you automatically have the additional 10,000 shield added. So being able to have Elly to help us with our defense is very key and important, and the fact that she's searchable makes her a whole lot better. For my next grade 1, I play 4 copies of Mermaid idol Sedna. As I stated before in the deck, if we don't pull Petra on our grade 2 ride, we at least have this grade 1 who can search out our grade 3s, and the fact that she gets power makes her really good as well. Therefore, our attacks are stronger and our columns are better. For my last grade 1, I play 4 copies of Peppy Smile Helga. Peppy Smile Helga is another Meer support card, and she has 2 of the following effects if you have not seen her before, which is the first one on the rear guard circle. If you reveal the Meer present from your hand this turn, this unit gets plus 5,000 power. Her second ability states, when its attack or the attack it boosted hits a Vanguard, you may counterblast 1 and draw a card. It's just another Meer support card. The fact that she gets power when you reveal a Meer present just helps make your columns bigger. Her second ability to counterblast 1 and draw a card is pretty good too. Helps us get more resources and utility, as our deck doesn't really counterblast much, so we can afford to sacrifice our counterblast any cards that we want. And we're having Peppy Smile Helga to get that extra draw, considering the fact that it works any period in the game when it boosts or attack, is helpful. Now for our triggers. So my trigger lineup is one that I've been going back and forth on, but this is the one that I've just settled on currently. 4 copies of Lover of Hope Rina, candy version. 4 copies of Direct Sign Pursh, candy version. 4 copies of the Draw PG Glittery Baby Lene. 4 copies of Handmade Lover Elena, the candy version. So this is the trigger lineup for the deck. I will say that with this deck, however, the trigger lineup is a little bit more flexible. I would actually recommend adding draw triggers to the deck if you wanted to. I simply chose to play 8 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal for this deck because with the way that I play and just my understanding of the matchups, 8 critical for me works out best because they do have the highest shield value, and being able to block against those strong rearguard attacks works out well. But if you wanted to play a bit of a faster Meer, I would recommend draw triggers, as being able to see your pieces earlier helps out. And as I'll explain with the markers later anyway, this deck preferably likes to go Force 2 anyway, concerning the fact that you are building up those markers over time with the rewrite, so you'll be able to see the cards that you wanted to and build up markers anyway with Meer, as she also has her superior calling ability. That's why I'm going 8 crit 4 draw 4 heal, but if you want to add 2 more draw triggers to this deck or even 8 draws to this deck, I don't see anything wrong with that. My starter of the deck is pure gifter Aliche. I play Aliche, the candy version, because this deck's all about the sweets. Alright you guys, as you already know, with every deck profile towards the end, I like to talk about what marker I believe is best for the deck. After my long time of playtesting and playing this deck, which is honestly my most favorite Bermuda deck besides Pacifica, I will say that Force 2 is the best marker for this deck, and the reason being is that with Sweet Sister Meer, this deck has no problem already building up power, as even one Meer present adds 5,000 power to your board of 5 units, and you always have 5 units all the time. There's never a game where I haven't had 5 units, even against decks that have heavy front row retire or binding, such as Narukami and Kagero, or decks that just do full on board wipe, such as Blade Master. This deck always builds up 5 units on board, and even with one Meer present, adding 5,000 power to your entire board essentially adds 10,000 power to the front row unit in one column if you were just to simplify the math. And having Force 2 to put on more pressure with our attacks is what we need. Since we already have no problem generating the power, especially if we're going into the long game, Force 2 to make the additional power that we have with our attacks for the criticals on the rear guards, especially your Petras when you want to go for game, is very important to have, as it just makes everything that we do more lethal and we can kill our opponents slowly but surely. That's why I think Force 2 is the best method to go for this deck. The only time in this deck where I would ever even consider going Force 1 is if we have a really bad hand and we just can't generate columns. Like, I don't know, if you drew in all triggers, I would say go into Force 1 just to make your attacks, you know, scarier and more relevant. But then you just gotta be careful on how you manage your resources, as now once you get to that point where you want to kill your opponent, you're going to be relying on a critical trigger to do so with Petra. So that's just something to look out for, but this is a very rare occurrence where I have to go into Force 1. I personally just don't like Force 1, especially for decks like to play the slow game style, because in this deck there is no way of generating additional markers as well, unlike Melody. Therefore, you just want to be able to sit on your Force 2, and then finally when it comes up, or when you get another Meer, ride your grade 3 again, and then get another marker. You always end up with 2 markers on this deck, and the time where you ride into your second Force 2 marker, which is when you have your second Meer present, is usually when you kill your opponent, as you'll have just built up so much resources and power to the point where they just die. Or you can play the slow game and just damage now your opponent early and set up with your Force 2 markers to do that. But that's the style of the deck that in gameplay works out well. Here we are, everybody. That is the Sweet Sister Meer deck profile that I have culminated over time. If you guys enjoyed watching today's video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. It really does help the channel. Also, do not forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you guys are notified. If you guys know someone who wants to build this deck, please give this video a share as well, and go ahead and use this deck as a template, as all of my decks are. Every deck decision I make, like I say in all my videos, is simply my opinion on how I would like to play the deck after my playtesting and experiences with this. And comment on this video, tell me what you guys' thoughts about this. I actually had a lot of fun playing this deck, and the reason why it's one of my favorites is because its gameplay is really simple, but it's also very strong. Also, back when I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh, I did play Altergeist for a while, so this deck kind of gave me Altergeist vibes, as this is a Bermuda deck that has the slow grind gaming play because you want to add more Meer presence and so forth. But yeah, tell me what you think in the comments below. Let me know what you thought about today's deck profile. That is all for today's videos, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.